Hello ladies and gentlemen, it's been a while. We are back in this tutorial where we are building a third person bow and arrow system in Unity. Happy New Year guys, it's 2021 and this is officially my first video of 2021. It's been a long time, I've been away for some time now and I'm back to finish up this tutorial. Alright, so some people also recommended that I share the Unity package and the script. So I'm going to share the entire Unity package and the Unity script in the description box. So now in this tutorial, what we are going to do is we're going to work on the sound system for the game. So I have already imported this folder here named sounds. Okay, this sounds folder. So it's actually in my download sound. So I'm going to I also add a link to download this sounds folder, but you can as well use any sound at all you want to use for this tutorial. So alright, so I think we can jump into the video. Now we can jump into the video. So we're going to the scripts folder and we're going to create a new folder in the scripts folder. We are going to name this sounds. So this folder is going to store every script that is going to deal with sounds in our game. Okay, so don't forget we always have to organize our folders in a very structured and presentable manner, easy to find script. So any script relating to sounds will be inside the sound folder, as well as like we did previously with the weapons. We have every script pertaining to weapon in the weapons folder. This helps keep our project organized. So even if our project gets very huge, we still know where to find every script or whatever is performing what function in the game. Alright, so let's open the sound script and then let's create a new C# script. We're going to name this script footstep sounds. Okay, so this is going to be our player's footstep sounds. Alright, so we'll create and add the script. Now the script added, we are going to open this in Visual Studio. Alright, so I have it open now. So the first thing we're going to do is we need a reference to an audio source component. So we say public audio source and we say player foot audio. So foot audio, foot audio. We'll also need an audio clip that's going to play. Okay, so public, and then we are going to say audio clip for the player's audio clip, and we are going to say this one is going to be foot clip. Alright, so the audio clip that's going to be played when the player is actually performing the walk animation. We are not going to need the update function here, so I'm going to say public void then player foot. So sorry, so I'll say player foot sound. Now I have the foot sound function. So this function is actually going to do the playing of the foot sound the player is going to make, as in if the player is walking, the footstep sound that we are actually going to hear in the game. So with that one done, we can now say player foot audio dot play. We want to play an audio clip and we are going to say play one shot and we are going to play the foot clip. Okay, now we can save this function. Now back in Unity, we are going to actually attach the foot script to our player. So we're going to drag in the foot script and attach it to our player. Sorry, I think. Alright, so here we go. Now we're going to create a new game object inside our player game object. So we're going to create an empty game object and we're going to name this foot audio. Okay, now this game object is going to have an audio source component and we want to take play on awake. We don't want to play this audio unawake. Okay, so once the game starts, the audio is not going to play. So the next thing we're going to do also is we want to set a spatial blend for this audio to 3D. So imagine our game is an online game. We don't want it to be a 2D audio because we're going to play like everywhere in the scene. We want it to be a 3D audio. So when like in fact, let's say this was a multiplayer game. So when we are getting close to another player in the multiplayer environment or level, they can actually hear the sound approaching and the sound going away, like kind of like a 3D effect to the sound. All right, so we have that set for us. Our foot audio. We'll select our player game object and drag the foot audio game object we just created as the player foot audio source component. Now the sound folder we imported, right in there we have footstep sounds. So you can select any of these footstep sound. We have the walk on ice footstep, walk on metal, and walk on wood. Alright, different footstep sounds. So for now, let me just put the wood sound. Okay, so you could actually use any footstep sound. This is just a basic way of doing this. Later we will be improving the footstep sounds to add like the ability to actually detect different ground surfaces and play different sounds based on the ground surface we're working on. Okay, now we have set the foot audio and then foot audio source and then the foot audio clip. Now in our foot audio, I want to reduce the volume. All right, so I don't want the foot sound to be so loud as compared to the other sounds. Yeah, because walking on the ground realistically doesn't make a lot of sound unless the character is like a huge monster-like character, something like maybe a beast or something like a huge character. Yeah, so that's it. Or maybe a superhero character where their landing will cause more foot noise or foot sounds. All right, so we have that set. Let's test this out. No, before we can actually test this out, let's enter the animator component. Inside the animator component, we are going to actually go into our foot animation. So I'm in the aim walk. So we have like the aim walk forward. So I'm going to edit this, and what we are going to do is we are going to add an event. So now this is what we are going to do. We are going to add an event, okay, exactly when the character places their foot on the ground, somewhere here. So when the character steps on the ground, we want to actually play the foot sound. Now if you go back to our script, the name of the function was player foot sound. It doesn't sound, it should be play foot sound. Okay, so we are going to rename this animation to play foot sound. So I'm going to copy this animation name here, play foot sound, right back in Unity. I'm going to focus on my player here, and right about when our player lands the foot on the ground, just here, when the player puts the foot on the ground, we are going to add an event. Now inside this event, we are going to paste the function name, which is play foot sound. And automatically what will happen is it will look into the animator, and within the animator it will look into all the scripts on the object with the animator, so which is our player object, and it's going to check if the scripts have a function called play foot sound, and it's going to find that function right here, and it's going to play that it's going to actually perform that function, which is going to play the foot sound for us. Now we are going to go right about where she drops the other foot, which is right here. We're going to add another event, and then we're going to paste the same function name, which is play foot sound. Now we will apply that change. Now we have to repeat this process for the aim, walk back, aim, walk left, aim, walk right, and we need to go back to our base layer, do the same thing for the walk, walk forward, walk back, walk left, walk right, and we have to also do the same thing for run forward, run back, run left, run right. All right. So we have to do for all the kind of like moving animations, like all the walk animation, walk or run animations, basically. So it's going to be a long process. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause out of this. I'm going to skip, uh, and you guys should just go through the same process and then like add the events for the different walk animations. So the foot sound will play. All right. All right. So guys, I'm back. I'm done adding all the events for the walking animation. So now we can play and see how the sounds look like when we start walking. There we have it. We have the footstep sound done working. Looks good. So you could see, you could hear the footstep sounds working on my end. All right. Now the next thing we actually going to do is to work on the bow and arrow sounds. All right. The sound the arrow performs and the sound the bow performs. So now you could see when we aim and we pull the arrow, like we have no sound effect. When the arrow hits the surface, there is no sound effect. So we need to fix that. So now we are going to fix that by adding, first of all, we are going to fix that in our arrow script. Now we are going to add a public, and then we are going to also add an audio source component here. So in our arrow, we say public audio source, and we say arrow audio. Now I don't think we're going to make it a public variable. We're going to keep it as a private variable. So what's going to happen is that once the game starts, we are going to automatically instantiate the arrow. All right. Anytime we fire the arrow, we instantiate the arrow. Okay. And since we are instantiating, or we are actually creating a new game object, a new arrow game object in the scene, and moving it forward in a forward direction, what's going to happen is we are going to add a component to the prefab, okay, the arrow prefab, the game object, the prefab object. So anytime we instantiate that, it automatically comes with a audio source. So once we instantiate, we get the component, we get the audio source component, and then we store it. All right, just like we are doing for these guys, the box collider and the radio body. They're all private private components, or whatever we can call them. All right. So now when we collide with any object on collision, we have to say arrow audio dot play. Here we go. So we have the arrow working. So we can actually see how this works. So if we go to our prefabs, we have the arrow here. So we're going to add an audio source component. Okay, so I think I already did that before starting this video. So I added an audio source component here. So this is the audio source component I added to the prefab. So let me just do it so you guys see. So I'm going to remove the component and start over again. So we'll say audio source. So once we add the audio source component, we are going to untick play on awake. We don't want this to play on awake. And then we're going to go into our sounds folder, and we're going to look for the I think we have the bow and arrow sounds. Then we will say arrow hits player. That's the sound clip. Arrow hits player. So that's the sound clip I'm using. Okay, excuse me. That's the sound clip I'm actually using. So now I'm going to play the game. Then let's aim and fire. You see, when we impact the surface, we actually get this. Alright, so you can see the arrow hits the surface. I don't really like this sound. There's another sound folder, impact SFX. So impact sound effects, and I'm going to select this wood impact. Let me listen to this sound and see which looks best. So aim and fire. All right. So the sound is kind of like playing multiple times. So I think the arrow game object is colliding with the player before colliding with any surface it hits. So we are going to place the sound here. Okay, so it doesn't collide, it doesn't play sounds when it collides with our player, because automatically this is our player game object. Anytime we aim, the arrow is actually in the player's hands, so it's actually colliding with the player before actually moving in the forward direction. So now we don't have the sound playing multiple times. All right. All right. So that looks cool. I'm also going to reduce the volume a bit, and I'm going to make this 3D sound. All right. Now we have the arrow sound working. Now let's see what we can do next. Yeah, so the next thing is we need to tackle the sounds for the bow. So to tackle the sounds for the bow script, we actually going to open Visual Studio once again, and we're going to select our bow script. Now we're going to also have an audio source component here for the bow sounds. So I think it's also going to be private. So audio source, and we are going to say bow audio. Now with that done, we're going to say bow audio is equal to get component. So we're going to get the audio source component. Now after getting the audio source component, we also need to get some audio clips. So right here in our bow settings serializable class, we are going to add another field for our serialized class. So we are going to add a header. Now inside this header, I'm going to say we have the bow audio settings. Now inside the audio, we are going to have the first audio we're going to have is public. We need to have an audio clip, so we're going to say audio clip, and this audio clip is full string audio. Then the next one is public. We're going to have another audio clip. Now this audio clip is going to be release string audio. So when the player releases a string and fires the arrow, we want a particular audio to play. When the player starts pulling the string, we want an audio to also play. Now the next one is, we are going to also have the last one, which is public audio clip, pick arrow, or let's make it draw arrow. That makes sense. So when you draw arrow from the quiver, we're going to have a particular clip also playing. So draw arrow audio, not clip, so audio. All right, so these three audio clips are going to play respectively, depending on what is actually happening. So now the first one is when we pick the arrow from the quiver, So automatically we know the draw arrow audio is going to play. So right here we are going to say um, the bow audio, okay, dot play. And there's a clip we are going to play which is living in our bow settings dot, and then it's going to be draw arrow audio. So that's the audio clip that's going to be played. Okay, so it should be play one shot, not play. So dot play one shot. All right. Okay, so we're going to copy this, and right here when we release the string. Okay, when we pull the string, we are going to also do the pull string. So we're going to say pull string audio, and when we release the string, we're going to say release string audio. All right, so that's fixed for us. So now back in Unity, we are going to select our bow, which is here, and you could see the audio clips here, and we also have to add an audio source component, and we really need to untick play on awake. We don't want to play on awake, and we want this to be a 3D sound. I am going to my sounds. Inside my sounds, I'm going to the bow and arrow sounds. Now we have pick arrow. That's going to be draw arrow. Okay. Then we have the release string for release string, and bow string pull, yeah, for pull string. So we can play, and we do have a problem that needs to be fixed. Yeah, so the release string should be called right here where we fire the arrow. Okay, when we fire the arrow, we actually want to call release string. Okay, not here. Okay, seems like this is running in updates. Okay, I think it's running somewhere in the input system. Yeah, so both script release string, and the release is being called somewhere in the update. So we're doing an if check somewhere, and then we calling the release string. So I think that's what's actually giving us. So you can see we are calling it here release right in the update function. So this is being called over and over again. So we are making so many calls to this function, so the audio keeps playing over and over again. So that should be the fix. All right, so you could see the sound is no longer there. So now you could see now the pull string sound, yeah, the pull string sound is a little bit late. So if you look at the character, she finished pulling the string and the sound still plays, or let's say she actually pulls the string before the sound plays. So you see, so we have to fix that. Now the easier fix for that is back in our bow script where we have the pull string. We are going to cut this from here, okay, and we are going to create another function here. We're going to say public void. We are going to say pull audio for the pull string audio. We are going to paste that here. Now we are going to call this function in our input system. So in our input system, we are going to create another public void, and you're going to say play pull sound. Okay, now we are going to since we actually have a reference to the bow script, we can just do bow script dot pool audio, and that is going to call our pool audio for us. So now what we're going to do is we are going to call this function in an animation event in Unity. Okay. Now the reason why we can't just call pool audio right here, which is in our bow script, is because the animator for our player is not on the bow audio. All right, it's not here. Okay, the animator, this player this animator holding our player animator controller is on this player object, not on the wooden bow. So the bow script is also on the wooden bow. Okay, our bow object. So it will be very difficult for our animator to find the function. Okay, so we need to. That's why we need to reference this pool audio in our event in our input system. Okay, which is display pool sounds. Okay, now when we are able to actually call this guy from the bow script in our input system, you can see our input system is actually on our player object, the object with the animator. So when we go into our animator and then we go to the upper body where we have the pool string, when we open the pool string animation and we go to events and we add the pool event here. So what we are going to do is we are going to actually add the pool event when she's about pulling the string, so the sound follows through. Okay, so you could see when we add this here, so this is what's going to happen. This event is going to look for a play pool sounds in the game object holding this animator controller here. Okay, which is our player object. So inside our player object, it's going to go through each of these scripts, the movement, the input system, and the footstep sounds script to find if there is any play pool sound function, which is the event in the pool string animation. I hope it makes sense. So when it's able to find a script of that nature, a function of that nature in any of the scripts, it calls that function. All right, and you will see in our bow script, our bow script is not reference to this animator controller, so we have to actually find a way to call that, and we did that by calling that in the input system. Okay, hopes it makes sense. If it doesn't, you can always ask questions in the comment section. I'm going to play this once again. So I'll aim. And now you could see it works perfectly. So now you see, when we pick the arrow, she makes this sound. Alright? We pull and release. Now you could see, as she pulls the string, the sound follows through. So you could see anytime she pulls the string, the sound also like follows through. Okay, and it looks more realistic now. All right, so there you have it. So we have the sound working. Another thing I think we can fix quickly in this video is our player doesn't have a set number of arrows she can shoot. So we need to do that. So where she actually does the firing of the arrow, we need to do a check to see if she actually has enough ammo to fire the arrow. So in our input system, I think we actually doing so if it's aiming, fire and all that. Yeah, so I think we can do that in our bow script. In the fire function, we're going to say anytime we fire, this is what's going to happen. Right after the fire has ended, we actually have actually created this here, but we didn't make use of it. So the arrow count serializable field here, we're going to access it. So we're going to say bow settings dot arrow count minus equal to 1. All right, so this will take my -1 from our total arrow that we have. Now we're going to say if bow settings dot arrow count is less than or equal to 0, or we can say it's less than 1, then we will return out of this function. Okay, now let's save and then head back into Unity. Now let's see, in our bow script we do have the arrow count variable. So let's say it's set to 0, so we shouldn't be able to fire any arrow at all. Let's give it a try. So we are not able to fire. Alright, so now in the first place, what we are actually going to do is we are going to make sure, so let's actually set this to 30 and see if she's able to fire. So now she can fire. And you can see in my inspector, the arrow count variable keeps changing. Alright, so now it's 27. Okay, when I fire again, it's 26, 25. So you can see it's working. Alright, now what we're actually going to do is you see when there is no arrow at all, when it's 0, she has no arrow or no ammunition. So look at this. She shouldn't be able to even pull the string. All right. She shouldn't. All right. Even though she pulls and fires and no arrow comes out, we actually have to disable that animation. All right. So I think in the input system, where we say if it's aiming, input the get button up, input the fire, so move script dot character fire arrow and all that. Yeah, so we need to do the check right here. Okay, so we are going to say if, okay, so we are going to say if bow script dot bow settings dot arrow count is less than 1, right here we're going to return. Okay, and she won't be able to even pull the string backwards. All right, so let's try that again. So first of all, let's set our arrow count. Okay, arrow count is 0, so she's still being able to pull. Okay, but she can't fire. So this shouldn't be here. This is okay. This handles the fire arrow. So let's take this out of here and see where we could actually do this. So if we start firing, we pull the string. So if you are aiming, let's see what this aim function does. So this is the ray cast. All right, this just shows our crosshair. The equip bow function equips the bow into the character's hands, and okay, so this is it. So where we actually doing the pull string. So you're going to write the if statement here. You're going to say if bow script dot bow settings dot arrow count is less than 1, or we could say is greater than 0. Okay, so if it's greater than 0, then we want to actually enable the full string animation to play. Okay, so let's see if this fixes it for us. If we actually have our fix, yeah, so we can pull. All right, now the next thing is we shouldn't allow her, we shouldn't give her the opportunity to be able to pick an arrow. Okay, so it's like she picks an arrow, but the arrow count is 0. All right, she has no arrow. So how do we do that? So that also we need to look at where we calling the aim animation. All right, so we say if it's aiming, move script dot character aim is aiming. So this is the aiming animation. All right, so now we can as well also disable the aiming animation. So we will copy this here and paste this guy here. So now if there is no arrow, no aim. All right, so that should also fix that for us, so she doesn't even pick the arrow in the first place. All right, so you could see she doesn't aim. All right, so once the arrow finishes, she just, you can't fire, you can't do anything, you just get this here. All right, so we can actually increase the arrow count to like 30, or let's do like 3, and let's fire 3 and see what happens after we fire the 3. All right, so now we can pick the arrow when we have more arrow. Right, so there's a little bug here. You could see when the arrow count reaches minimum, she's still aiming. Okay, so how do we fix this? Why is she still aiming? All right, so I think I figured this out. What we could actually do is get that out of here, and right above here we're going to say if the character arrow count is, should it be greater than 0? Sorry, so the if check here should be if it's less than 1. All right, so I think this should fix our problem for us. So if our arrow count is less than 1, we have no arrow. So I think, yeah, this should fix it. We just had to change the condition here. All right, so yeah, and when this is greater than 0, we actually want to put it. All right, yeah, so it makes sense. So let's try this again. So let's see. She still aims. No, we still have a problem. Bow script, bow settings less than 1. Character aim, aiming. Yeah, so I think so this is what we are gonna do. Right here we're gonna say if bow script dot bow settings dot arrow count is less than 1, is aiming should be equal to false. Right, So anytime we have no ammunition, the aim variable should always be false, even when the character is aiming. So we reset its aiming to false. Yeah, so we can't aim because its aiming is set to false. Alright, so let's add in 3 again. Now its aiming is set to true. We fire some more, and fire some more. Its aiming is set to false again, so we can actually aim. There you have it. So you could see aim is set to false, so we can't aim and fire some arrows. Alright, we can't even pick it. We can't pick an arrow, like we can't do any of that. So now, unless we pick up more arrows. So I won't end this tutorial here. So if we add more arrows, so like I have 30. Alright. So there we have it. So I will end this tutorial here. Probably in the next tutorial we're going to work on some arrow pickups. Since we actually fire some arrow and we can run out of ammo, we need to be able to figure out how to add more ammo. Okay, since we can actually run out of ammo, we need to figure a way where the character can pick up more ammo. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, I'll close this tutorial here, and feel free to expand on this script. It's true that you can learn more. So I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye.